For over 7 decades, one man has shaped the sound of modern music, a visionary whose fingerprints are on everything from jazz to pop, film scores to hip hop. He didn't just make hits, he made history. This man is more than a producer, he's the architect of sound itself, the bridge between genres, generations, and genius. From the smoky clubs of Chicago to the biggest selling album in history, this is the story about how one man changed music forever. Not through fame, but through feeling. The centerpiece of today's video is all about Quincy Jones. Now, if you guys love my videos and love supporting me, then I suggest you become a member of the channel where I will be releasing exclusive videos just for you all. Be sure to get that family tier so you won't miss out on these exclusive perks. Now, before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more content. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro. Quincy Delight Jones Jr. was born on March 14th, 1933 on the south side of Chicago, a city bursting with rhythm and pain. He grew up during segregation, surrounded by gospel, blues, and the early post of jazz. At the age of 14, Quincy met a blind teenager named Ray Charles. The two would sneak into clubs, studying arrangements, and dreaming about changing the world with music. By the age of 19, Quincy was on the road touring with Lionel Hampton's band, arranging music for legends before he was even old enough to drink. In jazz, he found his foundation: discipline, complexity, and soul, three traits that would shape everything he touched. In the 50s, the music industry was divided. White executives was on top and black artists was fighting for respect. Quincy Jones refused to accept those boundaries. He became one of the first black arrangers and conductors for major labels, working with everyone from Count Basie to Sarah Vaughan. In 1961, Quincy became vice president of Mercury Records, the first African American to hold such a position at a major record label. It wasn't just a promotion, it was a revolution. Quincy Jones had broken through the industry color line, and he wasn't done yet. In the early 60s, Quincy's genius caught the ear of Frank Sinatra. Together, they crafted the iconic Sinatra at the Sands album, a record that defined cool for a generation. Sinatra called Quincy Q, and from that point, the two was irresistible. He trusted Quincy's musical instincts, completely a rare bond that transcended race, genre, and ego. This era established Quincy not just as an arranger, but as one of the most brilliant musical minds alive. When Hollywood came calling, Quincy answered with innovation. He scored more than 30 films blending jazz, orchestral power, and soul like no one else before him. His scores brought a distinctively black sound into the mainstream cinema, emotion, rhythmic, and alive. And through it all, he continued to produce records, pushing boundaries with artists like Aretha Franklin, Leslie Gore, and the Brothers Johnson. Every decade, Quincy found a new way to reinvent himself. By the late 60s, Quincy Jones had conquered nearly every corner of music, arranger, producing, composer, and conductor, but there was one area that he had yet to claim. In 1969, Quincy Jones released Walking in Space, which was a groundbreaking album that blended jazz, funk, and the emerging sounds of the counterculture movement. It was bold, daring, and miles away from the big band swing that launched his career. This wasn't just a new sound, it was Quincy redefining what music could be. Through the 70s, Quincy's solo work became the bridge between jazz, sophistication, and pop accessibility. Albums like Body Heat and Mellow Madness wasn't just successful, they were statements. He pulled the best musicians in the world, such as Herbie Hancock, Minnie Riperton, and George Benson, and gave them room to shine. In 1981, Quincy Jones had done the unthinkable. He released The Dude, an album that turned the jazz genius into a pop icon. The album earned 12 Grammy nominations with 3 wins. It introduced the world to a new voice, James Ingram, and proved that Quincy could do it all. Funk, soul, R&B, and pop, all wrapped in the elegance. But even as Quincy thrives as a solo artist, he never stood still. Behind the scenes, he was producing music that would change the course of history. In 1978, Quincy met a young star named Michael Jackson on the set of The Wiz. The collaboration that would follow would change music forever. But then came Thriller, released in 1982. It became the best-selling album of all time, and Quincy Jones was its architect. His production style was genius. Every beat, every note, every silence had purpose. It was music engineered, not just for the charts, but for eternity. Long before the world called him a legend, Quincy Jones understood something deeper, that music was more than a sound. It was a language, a weapon, a bridge between people. Growing up in a segregated America, Quincy saw both sides of the country's soul, its brilliance, and its brokenness. And he made a promise early on that if he ever found a platform, he'll use it to lift others. Through his rise of fame, Quincy became one of the most outspoken artists in the fight for equality, both in the industry and beyond it. He pushed for fair recognition of black musicians, insisted on diversity behind the scenes, and mentored young artists whom the system often ignored. He wasn't just opening up doors, he was building hallways. And when others faced silence, he used his influence to make sure they was heard. By the 80s, Quincy Jones just wasn't producing. He was shaping culture itself. He brought artists together for We Are the World, which became an anthem that raised millions of dollars for fame and relief. He produced TV shows such as The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and films like The Color Purple. Everywhere you look, Quincy's influence was there, guiding, mentoring, and inspiring. His reach transcended genres, from jazz to hip-hop, from Frank Sinatra to Tupac. Few people have shaped much music or as many lives as Quincy Jones. Even into the 90s, Quincy Jones continued to inspire, not just as a producer, but as a teacher, philosopher, and example of resilience. He won 28 Grammys and worked with legends across 7 decades, and yet his greatest achievement might be this: he made music a universal language. He is the sound of love, rhythm, and possibility. The architect of modern music came from the one and only Quincy Jones. Then sadly, on November 3rd, 2024, at the age of 91, Quincy Jones sadly passed away for pancreatic cancer. He was survived by his 7 children. Quincy Jones has so many awards and honors himself, but his most recent award was being inducted into the class of 2025 National Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame. Now, before we go, I have a few questions for you all. What is your favorite song by Quincy Jones? Also, who is your favorite artist that Quincy Jones worked with?